Hey everyone, I just got done with my workout. It is the last workout of week 6 of our 80-day obsession journey. And I'll say that it is my least favorite workout because it moves super fast. But I get my workout in and it's over in about 35 minutes. And I was thinking about how so many times when we dread something, we really drag it out. And then once we face it or go through it, it's really not that bad. So I knew what today was, and it was cardio flow. And I'm not gonna say it's hard, but it's just the most challenging one. And I think that as humans, most of us would prefer doing something that we feel like we're good at. And so that I know means that I need to keep working on this. But on Saturday, we have the workout pre-recorded. We're not doing it live with Autumn. And so I always know that there's not this sense of urgency that I have to show up at 11:30 Central Standard Time and I can't push pause. And so I drug my feet today getting it done. And then once I got in halfway, I felt like, man, I'm so glad I did this. And that's usually what it takes. Is so many people fight those urges in their head of to do it, do I do it, do I not do it? And something that Autumn said today was the fact that her wrist was really bothering her. It wasn't sprained, she's not injured, it's just sore. And she said, you can take those moments and use them as your excuse, but if you know why you're doing this, then those things will be able to be pushed past. So she wasn't saying to work out if you're hurt or injured, but really evaluate, are you using a slight, feeling of discomfort stop you from it? And if so, then you haven't really locked in why you want to do this. And so I love these workouts and any of our programs that we have because the trainers really talk about things that are going through our heads at the moment because it's so easy to want to quit. And anyways, I got it done. I feel great. And, this is the 6th time I've done this workout and I definitely see improvement. I definitely see, that I'm better on my form with these each moves because some of them were pretty challenging. And that really is what keeps me going is the motivation. I see progress in my strength and even physically. But today I wanted to talk to you about the fear and stress and what it does to our bodies. Autumn talked about cortisol, and it's something that I have been really looking into because I have always been a person that has a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. It's stem from childhood, and I have been battling it my whole entire life. Like I am just a stress case. I even take anxiety medication that's been prescribed by a psychiatrist, and it takes the edge off, but I'm really prone to stress, and those kind of things can wreak havoc and can really cause an issue in your adrenal glands, which are what controls your hormones. And a lot of people suffer from adrenal gland fatigue or failure, and it can end up with thyroid problems and hormonal problems. And I'm trying to get my stress under control and manage. It doesn't mean that there will be no stress in my life. It's just that how I'm letting it affect my body, because it's really bad for your health and bad for your body. And I have had such really bad manifestations of stress that has taken a toll on my body in the past. And I feel that I need to get control of it now, so it doesn't have any lasting effects on my health. And one thing that Autumn talked about with our test group about 2 weeks ago was the fact that she's had this DEXA scan done. And that's this full body scan that really analyzes your body composition. So because we can't really rely on a scale. And it really measures like how much fat and lean muscle you have in different areas of your body, in your total body. And she was talking about how right through this section right here is where she saw a change that was not a positive change. The rest of her body in the first 4 weeks of this program was, saw positive change that, she may have gained weight, but it was in lean muscle and she lowered her fat. So she was talking about that is a storage of fat right there that is a response to stress. And so many people don't understand how eating and stress really can be something that works against you when you're trying to lose weight, and it can be very frustrating. And for me, the biggest tip that I have to share with anybody things that I've been doing is, number one, opening up to somebody, talking to somebody about what you're thinking, what you're going through, instead of trying to bottle it up, because that's really that can cause a lot of pain, because you're just dealing with the stress on your own and it just stays locked up. Also, I've been really focusing on meditation. I don't meditate on my own, but I use this app that has a guided meditation where basically I just close my eyes or relax and listen to the words. I've been journaling and writing down things that I am grateful for, things that I'm struggling with, things that I'm working towards, things that I'm trying to remind myself that I'm strong, that I'm deserving, all these different things. And so those things are kind of releases and ways to help with the stress. And also the biggest thing is eating well and working out. Like, those are the best forms of therapy and the cheapest forms of therapy. But I wanted to read something that I read yesterday in a book so that you understand the science. And I've learned this recently, but I find that it's easier for me to read it from a book to you than to try to put it in my words, because I fumble all over. But it's something that I want you to think about and think about how you see it present in your life. I'm going to be doing a online course about binge eating that is going to help give some tips if you're an overeater, or if you've had any a bad relationship with food in the past. I know that I have. So it says, how an urge leads to a binge. You experience a strong urge to binge on a food. Been there, done that. This is generally a random, powerful urge to consume vast quantities of food. I know sometimes that I have known that there's like cookies in the pantry, and I'm like, oh my God, I want one. And then I think, oh God, I better not eat one because I'll eat them all. And next thing I know, I'm in the pantry eating a bunch. And next thing you know, I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to eat them all, because if I don't, then I'll just do this every day, and I'd rather get rid of it. And those are the types of things that are, binge eating, and these urges that I'm, focusing on trying to overcome, especially since I decided to get sober almost 2 years ago. I found that food had become a security blanket. So anyways, the book goes on to say, you have a strong emotional response to the urge. You may panic in response to the binge urge by saying, oh no, here comes a binge. Why am I feeling this way? What is wrong with me? And this is something I've shared in the past, that when we ask questions of what is wrong with me, or why do I always do this, your brain will answer you in the most rude way ever, and you will come up with these ridiculous answers that are just going to leave you in a state of shame and embarrassment and guilt. So it says, or if you already know that you're going to give yourself permission to binge on food, you may react to the binge urge with excitement. You're finally going to allow yourself to eat. Well, it's going to happen. I can finally have that release of a binge. I can just let go and have all the bad foods I've been craving. Or it could be both panic and excitement. Part of your mind wants to binge and part of your mind doesn't. Just this one last time. I'll make it extra big, the final binge, and then I'll never do it again. Then this is what I want you to understand. Your fight or flight response kicks in. And this is something that I've learned in the past through therapy while I've been addressing my mental illness and how I respond to things that trigger in my brain pain or sadness or abandonment. And this goes even down to food. It says the intense emotional responses instantly send your body into fight or flight mode. Fight or flight is a biological response that has evolved to protect us from danger. Your body and brain don't know the difference between an actual threat, such as being stalked by an animal that's about to kill you, and perceived as a threat, like facing an emotionally extreme situation. They're the same thing as far as your physiology is concerned, and they induce the same response. So our brains are just so archaic, and so when they see something that threatens us and puts us in stress, it can't tell the difference between a lion wanting to eat us, or somebody wanting to hurt us, or us making the bad decision and hurting ourselves. Your body kicks into high gear by releasing hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These chemicals surge through the body, increasing your heart rate and breathing, tensing your muscles, and constricting your blood vessels. You feel jittery, on edge, anxious, and excited. Fight or flight intensifies the need to respond to the binge urge. The incredible intensity of the fight or flight response is designed to provoke an extreme emotional reaction to make you act immediately. Millions of years of evolution have made it this way for a good reason. If a lion jumped out at you in a jungle, you can bet you'd want to respond quickly. It's an instinctive response. You feel you must react to the stress trigger immediately to survive. It's the same with your need to respond to the binge urge. Your brain is telling you it must be dealt with now. Your cravings for energy-dense food increase. Your fight or flight mode, the body uses up In the fight or flight mode, your body uses up an enormous amount of energy as your physiology goes into overdrive. This sparks the release of a group of hormones called glucocorticoids. The role of these is to replenish the lost energy by spiking your cravings for sugar and energy-dense foods and storing fat in your abdomen to ensure that you have enough fuel to survive future threats so you can keep running from that lion. This intensifies your cravings even further, and these hormones stick around in your blood even after the threat is removed. Your brain goes into autopilot as you lose the ability to think logically or clearly. The part of your brain that's essential for this experience of emotions and perception is called the amygdala. During fight or flight, the amygdala gets hijacked. It's overrun in a neurochemical process that disables your capacity to access a part of your brain responsible for rational thought, your neocortex. This is why it's nearly impossible to think through the situation with calm logic. If you're in front of that lion, your brain doesn't want you to stop to remember all of the great plans you made about how to deal with this logically. It just wants you to run. The space to weigh pros and cons where you consider your option is eliminated when you find yourself reacting automatically without thinking about it. You cannot control this binge urge, and this leads to more fear. In reality, you have very little control over how the urge to binge makes you feel, how long it stays, or how intense it is. Yet you may try your best to control it. You could try by yelling at your binge urge, screaming at it to go away, but it won't. You could try presenting the most compelling and logical arguments in the world against this binge urge, but still, this doesn't work. These things do not work because the binge urge does not respond to logic or emotion. Realizing that you cannot control the binge urge can make you feel even more weak and powerless against it. So what happens? More panic, more fear, more stress. The fight or flight cycle continues and spirals around again, and then those lions keep coming, and then you blame yourself. That's when depression, guilt, anger, all these things set in. At this point, you blame yourself. You think the fault is in the lack of your willpower, your emotional weakness, or your defective personality. This perpetuates into the feelings of powerlessness and defeat and makes you feel even worse. The only way you know how to numb this feeling is a binge, and so that cycle keeps starting over again. You don't know any other way to deal with these intense emotions: helplessness, hopelessness, fear, anger, anxiety, self-loathing, and that feeling of being unable to escape. You haven't developed any other method for coping with these seemingly unbearing feelings like these other than binging, so you give in and binge. So this is something that can be really applied to any part of life, but so many people are so hard on themselves for the decisions they make, and I'm not saying that you're powerless. You need to understand where these urges come from and how your brain works, and then we need to replace them with better coping mechanisms. But really, I found that so many people pinpoint the problem and then just beat themselves up, saying they're weak. Why do I do this? They blame their parents, they blame outward influences, people, circumstances, and they don't realize it's their brain, the way of coping. And we really can change the way we think, and by changing our perspective about really pinpointing the problem. And so once you understand how your brain works and how it's so powerful, then that's a step in the right direction. So if you're dealing with these things, don't consider yourself weak or powerless. There is hope, and you're not a defective person. It's just your brain working against you. Our brains were not created to make us be successful, and because quite honestly, whenever we set out to do something amazing, our brains usually work against us and tell us that you can't do it, you're stupid, and then there's obstacles put in front of us, and that just reinforces why we can't do it. So we have to work really hard to get to where we want to be, and it is possible. It's not easy, but anything that's easy you never really appreciate. But something that you've overcome and you've learned along the way, and you've strengthened yourselves, not just physically but emotionally and mentally, those are the things that really give you that lasting feeling of success and accomplishment. So I just wanted to share with you that if you're dealing with some of these issues, that there is hope, and that understand that your brain has been really a big part of how you do this, and how stress can really wreak havoc. And so you'll want to, really focus on studying yourself on how you react to these things, and really coming up with ways to combat your stress and to be very cognizant of what's going on with your brain and your cravings. I know last night I stayed up late to pick up my daughter from the football game, and I started having these urges to be like, oh, well, I'll go through my favorite place, Andrea's taco shop, it's right there. Last time I picked her up, we stopped by and got something, and I had to fight myself all through town, and I just said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I had to tell myself the whole time, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. And so the thing is, no matter where you're at, you're always probably going to have those urges. It's strengthening yourself to get past those urges, because the results, the desired effects are more important than that temporary fix that you get from binging. Hope that this has been helpful.